Welcome to Lesson 4. In today's lesson, we're going to explore forces by conducting some mini investigations. Don't worry, all you need is your fingers and a rubber band. By now, you know the drill. You'll need to download a copy of the journal slip titled Exploring Forces, a pencil, your journal, and that rubber band. Pause this screencast now to gather your supplies. Let's get started. I have a really short clip that I want you to watch. We all have computers and Chromebooks, and there may have been a time when you just lost your grip and, well, let's just watch. Okay, so what does happen next? I really want you to think for a moment. If you drop your Chromebook or computer on the floor, do the computer and the floor apply a force on each other? If the computer and the floor do apply a force on each other, how do those forces compare? If you think the answer is it depends, what do you think it depends on? Take a moment to pause and record your thoughts on your journal slip. Let's explore each of these questions one by one through some investigations. Let's start with our own built-in force sensors, our fingers. When we do this, I want you to focus on the forces you feel on the pads of your fingers. Begin by holding your pointer fingers about a centimeter apart, like you see in the photo. Do you feel any push between your fingers when they're not touching? Now I want you to slowly push your right finger into your left finger. Do you feel a push on your left finger? Do you feel a push on your right finger? How do you think the forces compare? Is one stronger than the other? What's your evidence? Now push harder with your right finger. What happens now to the amount of push you feel on each finger? What can we say about the direction of the forces on each finger? I want you to take a moment to pause and record your thoughts on your journal slip. Now let's try this again, but this time let's start with our fingers pushed together. Slowly release the pushes between your fingers so they're not touching. What happens to the force you feel on your fingers when they're no longer pushing? Can you still feel the push? Slowly push with your left finger on your right finger. Do you feel a push on your left finger? Where do you think this push is coming from? Do you feel a push on your right finger? Where do you think this push is coming from? Do you still feel forces on each finger regardless of which one is pushing? So think about it. Can one finger push on another without the other pushing back? Again, record your observations for this part of the investigation. And remember, you can try them a few times to really think about and write down your observations. Now, let's try this a little bit differently, but with pulling forces. For this, we need to use the rubber band. I need you to loop the rubber band between your two pointer fingers, your index fingers. Just make sure that the fingers are facing away from one another. Now, gently pull with your left hand. What do you notice about the direction of the force in your right finger as compared to your left finger? Come on now, pull harder with your left hand. How does pulling harder with your left hand affect the forces you feel with your right hand? Your left hand. What evidence do you see and feel? Again, You can try this a few times, but I want you to pause and record what you're observing on your journal slip. So we've thought about computers dropping, we felt our fingers pushing against each other, and you even felt your fingers pulling rubber bands. What patterns did you notice across all three investigations? If you had to come up with a set of rules about forces, what would you come up with? This is going to be our topic of discussion for tomorrow, so I really want you to think about the similarities across all three of these mini investigations. Until then, I need you to submit your journal slip exploring forces. If you printed or wrote your responses, just upload a photo into Schoology. If you typed it, then upload the digital document. Until then, keep thinking and keep learning.